yo. Alright. Today's Today we're talking about God's glory, episode 1, and vegetation. So we'll look at a few scriptures and then we'll go on to the evidence that we see on earth. So in Romans 1:20, it says, "For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse." So, like it says, God's talking about creation, talking about everything you see around you. Clearly, you see design, even though people want to act like they don't, or it's not necessarily design per se. You see design, and I think that's what God's talking about. In Psalms 19, verses 1, it says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Day unto day utters speech, and night unto night reveals knowledge. There is no speech or language where their voice is not heard. Their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he has set a tabernacle for the sun." So, again, as it says, the heavens declare the glory of God. In a future episode, we'll get into space and stuff like that. And it talks about how they have a speech, which is interesting because science would actually classify math as a language, and you see mathematics all over the universe. You could even watch a video called "The Mathematical Language of the Universe" and how everything has like a number. And in book of Job 37:14, it says, "Listen to this, O Jacob. Stand still and consider the wondrous works of God. Do you know when God dispatches them and causes the light of his cloud to shine? Do you know how the clouds are balanced, those wondrous works of him who is perfect in knowledge?" Once again, that invisible attributes of God, creation, showing that God or a creator has clearly been here or done such a thing. There's also another, in Proverbs, the book of wisdom, chapter 6, verses 6, it says, "Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider her ways and be wise." So we could even learn from animals, and again, I'll go in the future. Another episode will be about that, of how we have learned from animals and other insects and stuff like that. Very interesting. And he goes on to say in Job 12, in 7, "But now ask the beasts, and they will teach you, and the birds of the air, and they will tell you, or speak to the earth, and it will teach you, and the fish of the sea will explain to you. Who among all those does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this, in whose hand is the life of every living thing, and the breath of all mankind?" So once again, clearly God has done this. Clearly a creator has done this all. And to think that design is not evidence of God is absolutely absurd. So one of the designs we're going through is vegetation. We're going to show the potato. How does the design of the potato actually show God? It's actually interesting to see how does it grow. How does a potato grow? And it is called True Food, the website. Here you go, so you can see it. True Food. I believe it's truefoottv.com. Or no, this is how it grows, or howgrow.org. I'm going to put the information in the description so we can see some more of this lady's work. She's done some awesome work. So I'm just showing her video to show us and more people the beauty of God's work and in creation. So let's go to How does it grow the potato?
Can you guess America's favorite vegetable? Here's a hint. We really like them fried, fried, and fried. We eat more potatoes than any other veg, yet it's really easy to forget when you're munching on those chips that you're really eating fried slices of plant root. Well, not exactly, but we'll get to that, because we're here at King's Family Potato.
That's actually an interesting thing to me is that the plant root, the fact that we can eat the bottom of the plant. A lot of times, like fruits and vegetables, the tree grows and then you eat what comes out of the tree. Whereas some vegetables and vegetation actually comes from under the ground, so it's like you would probably never see that. you know.
Farm to find out how does it grow. One medium potato provides almost half your daily value of vitamin C and is super rich in potassium. Potatoes originate from the Andes. Explorers brought them to Europe, where they fueled the rise of populations across the continent. And today, potatoes are the fourth most farmed crop on the planet. Here in southern...
It's crazy, it's like one thing comes from all the way somewhere else in the world and it gets grown so much to where it becomes like the supplier of almost the whole world. And it's just, you would think some grow here, some grow there, but no, it's like some stuff just grows right there and that's it.
Pennsylvania, the Kings have been growing potatoes since the 50s. Conrad King took the reins from his 86-year-old dad, who still helps out at harvest time. The Kings grow potatoes exclusively for chips, so we're going to follow these spuds from farm to factory. In spring they plant potatoes, specially grown to use as seed, which are chopped into pieces containing at least one eye. That's where the new plant sprouts. Potatoes do produce true seed inside little green berries that are the real fruit of the potato plant. But if you plant one of those seeds, you're going to get a new type of potato. To get the same kind of potato, farmers plant the tuber itself. So let's talk to...
That's pretty interesting. I actually never knew that there was a seed and that you would get a different kind from that seed. So it's like, that's just crazy. You grow another seed, but you get another kind of the same, plant or whatever. It just shows like the organization and also the diversity within one thing. So it's like it's always a potato, but there could be like different variations, and they have that with like blueberries and other things as well. And that's crazy. So if you want the same kind of potato, you want to grow the root or the actual potato. The tuber.
Tuber. Potatoes grow underground, but they're not roots. They're tubers. Roots suck up nutrients from the soil. Tubers store these nutrients. That's why potatoes are fat and starchy. The farmer mounds the soil.
So you look at all that background, like you look at it, it's like, how would you even know that there's a potato back there or underground? That's what interests me.
High over the potatoes. If they're too close to the surface during a dry spell, the earth will crack and expose the potatoes to sunlight. That's what turns potatoes green and bitter. Sunlight triggers the buildup of solanine, a chemical that's deadly if you eat like 60 potatoes in one sitting. So if you see any green, just cut it off. You'll live. When the plants flower in June, farmers know the potatoes are beginning to grow. Meanwhile, farmers keep a lookout for two enemies, a fungus called late blight, which was a cause of Ireland's Great Famine in the 1800s, and this little leaf-eating sucker, the Colorado potato beetle. If they get out of hand, they'll kill an entire crop in days. As the leaves of the plant begin to brown, the potato skins start to set and thicken. Conrad harvests them before the skins set, because at the chip factory, they're going to be peeled straight away. But he's got to move quickly. Without their toughened skin, the potatoes can start rotting within 24 hours.
That's one thing, like as someone who grew up in the city, when it comes to farms, like you wouldn't like bugs. You gotta watch out for bugs. Certain bugs with certain foods, like some fruits, some foods that potato bug might not eat a cranberry, so it's like you don't have to worry about that. But it's like you got this bug for this food, so now you gotta find like this kind of supposed like pest, pesticide or whatever. And once again, it's a whole ecosystem. So much creation, so much design in all these things.
Half the potatoes America eats are processed, including chips like hers. Here at their factory, potatoes from different farms are rarely mixed before cooking. That means the chips in your bag likely came from a single farm, like King's. First, the potatoes are peeled, then sliced. Every inch of potato makes about 20 slices, each one just 50,000th of an inch thick. Now they're ready for the fryer. The chips cook for just a couple minutes in a vat of 370-degree corn oil. Then they're scanned for spots. Dark chips are rejected by a gust of air with pinpoint precision. Finally, the chips are seasoned and bagged with a spritz of nitrogen that eliminates the oxygen to preserve the chips. In 24 hours, hers produces 1 million bags. Potatoes are 80% water. As they cook, that moisture is released and replaced by whatever cooking fat you're using.
That's another weird design when it comes to many things. Like even us, we're like over 70% water, and it's like, it's just weird. Like, where does the water go? Or, it just doesn't, it's crazy. But then at the same time, you also have like dry dehydration and freeze drying, where you can suck out the water and it keeps it from biodegrading and stuff like that. So it's, once again, there's so much design in it. The water is holding it together. There's water and all these molecules within this thing that make a potato or a human being. And it's just completely clear, like Paul said.
Oil, butter, etc. Since chips are super thin slices submerged in oil for over 2 minutes, they lose almost all their moisture. They're 2% water at the end. On the other hand, boiled potatoes retain almost all their moisture, but they lose half of their potassium and vitamin C. It leaches out into the water. I have a recipe that's right in the middle. These use just 2 tablespoons of olive oil. A lot of that gets left in the pan. The best part? You get to use one of these. We're going to roast a batch of small potatoes on a sheet pan with olive oil, salt, and pepper. Halfway through cooking, pull them out and smash them. If you're working with kids, you might want to transfer these to a cool pan. Now, you don't want to break them apart. You just want to smush out the insides. These are the bits that are going to crisp up deliciously when you put them back in the oven. Continue roasting until they're golden and tender. You get the crispiness of a French fry with the creaminess of a baked potato.
No, I never even saw that before.
Nice. Cooking with a side of stress relief. I think that's a perfect recipe. Happy smashing.
Potato. It's crazy, man. It's just the simple things, and that's what it's about. Sometimes you see the simple stuff. Let me go forward. We're gonna do one more food. How does it grow? One more 5-minute video to see God's glory.
It's the dead of winter here in Pennsylvania, and I'm on the hunt for one of the most nutrient-packed foods on the planet. The earth is frozen, daylight is short, not good conditions for growing any vegetable, but I found a place where this one grows year-round, so I'm dying to find out. Spinach. How does it grow?
I wonder what it smells like over there.
This is Bright Farms. Literally the size of a football field. This greenhouse pumps out 75,000 pounds of spinach a year.
You don't know. How do you know which one to buy?
They don't.
No, sorry. So like, I always wondered that in the wild. Like when you look at that, like what about that leaf or plant makes you realize and know that you can eat it? Unless it's just literally all trial and error.
Grow spinach in soil. They grow it in water. This kind of growing is called hydroponics. Hydro means water, Ponics means work. In hydroponics, plants are grown in nutrient-enriched water that gets reused. With record droughts and rising demand for local foods, hydroponics could be the future of farming. Although really, hydroponics is thousands of years old. The ancient Egyptians farmed on rafts along the Nile, and the Aztecs on lakes. In the 13th century...
I mean, you look at that, even how you can grow things, the way things can grow, it's just amazing.
Marco Polo marveled at the floating gardens in China. Here at Bright Farms, their spinach floats on boards over ponds filled with well water. These boards have small slits for roots to dangle through. Head farmer Jason Jackson basically plays the role of God. With a click of the mouse, he controls the heat, the moisture, the daylight, all the conditions that conventional farmers can't control. What's trickier here is perfecting the mix of nutrients he gives the plants. Without soil, there's no buffer between the delicate roots and the potent fertilizer.
If I don't get it quite right, I could potentially burn the plants, at which point we would have to drain a pond. And to date, I have not had to drain a pond.
Have you killed any plants?
I have not killed any plants,
Okay.
no.
Okay, but wait, there's 40,000 gallons of water in that pond.
Yep.
And hydroponics is supposed to conserve water. How does that work?
We actually use 80% less water than outdoor conventional ag, and we do so by recirculating the water in the ponds themselves.
Not all hydroponic farms recirculate their water. Some think nothing about draining the ponds, since it's always easier to start with fresh water. But Jason likes to nurture the pond's ecosystem, so when it comes to spinach, he enlists lettuce, because it helps fight spinach's worst enemy, a fungus called Pythium that can wipe out a...
There you go again. Almost every plant has its own little different thing you gotta worry about, and that's crazy.
whole crop overnight.
Dang.
Growing spinach hydroponically is basically a race between spinach and Pythium. Pythium spreads by little spores that swim. Swimming is not so easy in the soil, but here in the pond, it's Pythium heaven. Because lettuce is stronger against Pythium, it helps keep the Pythium population down. Which means Jason can avoid using killer chemicals like fungicides. After 14 days on the water, the leaves are still small and tender, and ready to be harvested as baby spinach. One by one, each raft goes through the cutting machine. And then it's on to packaging. Bright Farms harvests, packages, and ships its spinach to stores within 24 hours.
I know that package.
Calorie for calorie, spinach packs more nutrients than almost any other vegetable. It's one of the best for vitamin K, which helps keep bones healthy. Now, I love baby spinach in a salad, but if you're cooking with spinach, you can use frozen spinach. It's just as nutritious and probably easier to find. I've squeezed out the water from a package of thawed spinach, and we're going to turn this into cheesy spinach bites. Or as my producer prefers to call them,
Extra special, super delicious cheesy bites.
Yeah, I don't need none of that. Yeah, so I wanted to see something about the lettuce.
Lettuce is stronger against Pythium. It helps keep the Pythium population.
So,
Spinach and Pythium. Pythium spreads by little spores that swim. Swimming is not so easy in the soil, but here in the pond, it's Pythium heaven. Because lettuce is stronger against Pythium, it helps keep the Pythium population down. Which means Jason can avoid using...
So, it seems like what they're saying is, like they said, instead of using these strong chemicals, they can use a lettuce, another plant that can fight off or keep these pests at bay, or this fungus or whatever. So, once again, it's crazy how nature itself works, and then how nature can work with each other. And and that's all we got. We got a short video today. It was about God's glory, and yes.